All right. So, um, one of our family members asked me last week, how come Lincoln don't play two sports? And do you want to play two sports?
No, I feel like it's hard to be great at two sports, and it's hard to be great, period. It's either you're all in or you're all out in one sport.
So,
You can't,
go
you
ahead.
can't be halfway in and halfway out if you ever want to be great. And our goal is to be great.
Yeah, I was explaining to them because you've never played baseball, you've never played American football. You played soccer before COVID, and you chose basketball. By the way, I'm elated that you chose basketball. By the way, and I was explaining to him that I think mastery is more important. Like we have a rule in this house: you're gonna learn, you're gonna be a mastery at sport, a language, and
Instrument.
an instrument, right? And you chose piano, Spanish, and basketball. And I I genuinely believe that it's so hard to be great at something, you know. It takes extreme, intentional, and diligent focus, you know, to actually get that accomplished. Do you think second sport will be a distraction, or do you think that it can actually help you with basketball?
Doesn't really help because you see all of the NBA stars are more skilled at everything, and if you don't put all your time into one sport to get skilled, then it's just another sport is just nonsense. Shouldn't be doing it.
And I also believe if you're great at one sport, you'll be good at another. Because I think it translates over. You know, like
But
me.
you're not going to be great.
Right. Not gonna be great. Not gonna be great. And then when we fast forward it to reality, right? When we fast forward it to reality in terms of like college, because the goal is to get to college, right?
Yeah.
The goal is to get to college, make some money in college, and ultimately become a professional athlete, correct? How many collegiate athletes play two sports?
Not a lot.
I don't know too many. You don't know the name, but Charlie Ward. Have you ever heard of Charlie Ward? He was a Heisman Trophy winner and was a first-round draft pick in the NBA. You know, there's not too many of them, and I think God made them special, right? Shaquille O'Neal's, the LeBron James, you know, the Michael Jordans. You know, I think God said, you know what, I'm gonna take my time on this one. you know, he stopped the conveyor belt, you know, of humans. And I think outside of those special Bo Jacksons, Charlie Wards, I think being intentional about being a master at something, you know, because so many parents want their child to be good at everything. If you're good at everything, that means you're great at nothing. Yeah. I've never told you that quote before, but if you're good at everything, that means you're great at nothing.
You've told me that good is the enemy of great.
Good is the enemy of great. You're absolutely right. And I also believe that no matter how many sports you play, you got to have performance training. You and I have been doing performance training for some time now, and I believe, and tell me your perspective, because I've never asked you this. And by the way, when I ask him questions, he doesn't know what I'm going to ask him because I'm real interested in his authentic answers. I believe my opinion. This is my opinion, Lincoln. I'm a handyman. When I drop you guys off at school, where do I go?
To work.
To work. And what do I do at work?
Work.
Yeah, like I'm fixing things. Like I'm a handyman. I'm basically a handyman for the properties, right? So I say this. So I'm a handyman. If I am a plumber, right? and then I become an electrician. Electrician don't make me good at being a plumber,
Yeah.
right? And I say the same thing about basketball, or in another sport. It doesn't make you great at basketball. It may get you in shape, it may keep you in shape. There is some parallels, right?
Yeah.
And I genuinely believe that if you don't add performance training, speed, agility, and quickness, plyometrics, and balance, stabilization of your muscles, ice, I genuinely believe that you're leaving a lot of athleticism on the floor. And I think a lot of parents leave a lot of athleticism, untapped athleticism on the floor because they want to say, my child plays 3 sports.
Yeah.
Because
you don't have time to go to baseball practice, then watch a soccer game, then go play a basketball game.
Right.
It's just a waste of time. Pick one sport and that's it.
Pick one sport and be great at it.
Mm-hmm.
And how about this? Some people say, and this is the argument that they raised, was like the functionality of your body and your muscles, like different sports.
Take different movements and stuff?
Yes, take different movements and stuff. And what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think different sports take different movements. But if you play more than one sport, it's going to keep you in shape, it's going to keep you going longer, but you're not going to be as happy, not being able to go for 30 every night, because you're playing 3 sports and don't have really time to practice all of them. You're only going to be good and maybe not even good at all of them. You're never going to be great doing that.
Right. And then, remember I was telling your uncle, remember? Don't say the name, but I was telling him that you got to know the schedule of CIF, right? Yeah. Like too many kids are playing sports that
run into each other.
Yeah. You gotta, if I'm talking about Los Angeles, right? You gotta know the CIF schedule. Like now when you get to 8th grade, you're forced to choose a sport, because if you know the CIF's calendar, you would know that, hey, listen, it's I can't do this sport, but I need to do a spring sport and a fall sport so I can play 2 sports in high school, right? Yeah. Parents don't even know the CIF calendar, so, but I was telling your uncle that, and he was like, oh, that makes sense. Because your cousin had to drop 1 sport, remember? Yeah, so anyways, man, and they may have chosen the wrong sport, right? And one may say they chose the wrong sport. So, but anyways, man, any final word? Anything you want to ask me?
How, you said this, but how do you think playing 2 sports carries over to playing another one? Like playing soccer carries over to basketball.
I think soccer carries over. Playing basketball is like fast twitch muscle fibers, especially below the knees, in your ankle area, because you can't use your hands, you use your feet, but there's no catching in soccer, not unless you're the goalie. So when you have a basketball, you catch a basketball with your hands. You don't catch a soccer ball with your hands. You catch it with your feet. So when people are playing soccer and basketball, they don't necessarily correlate, because nothing you do in soccer is above your shoulders. I mean, you may throw the ball in bounds like this, but if you're on the field, you're bruising and playing more physical. Now, I will say running up and down that field, you remember? Remember you played it? Boy, Lika used to be drenched in sweat, man, So I do understand that from a heart rate perspective, keeping your child in shape. I get it, but I don't see there's no overhand stuff, catching the ball, bouncing the ball.
And then you're gonna end up being a shooter. You're not gonna get to the Hall of Fame. You're not gonna be able to take your kids and there's my name up there. It's just you're not trying to be great at anything. Right. And that's the gift and the curse of Parks and Recs. I mean, this video is taking a little bit too long, so we're going to end it here. But I'll say this, you've never been Parks and Recs. And I never want to be.
You've never done Parks and Recs. But Uh, you just go from sport to sport. The gift and the curse is your child is safe. I was a Parks and Recs kid, at Mount Carmel. I told you about Mount Carmel, man. Shout out to Mark and Eddie, who did a great job when I was a child. Coach Mark and Coach Eddie. But I just moved on from sport to sport. I played flag football. I played baseball. I couldn't hit the ball. And I played basketball. So during baseball season, I would quit. I wouldn't play. I would just go in the gym in the summer and play basketball because it was a spring and summer sport. I just went in the gym and played basketball. So I would go from Mount Carmel Park to Manchester Park, walk up Hoover. You don't know the streets, but some people may listen. Walk up to Manchester from 71st. I lived on Florence. So Florence and Hoover. So you see my old house, right? Yeah. Where we grew up. So, but yeah. So I think it's. And I'm not necessarily saying I have the right answer. This is just my perspective, and that's it. So, any more questions you want to ask me?
No.
Any final words you want to say to the people?
Peace.
Peace. Team Hawthorne out.